Hey everyone, welcome to another inspiring session. Good to see you here. Give us a minute while more people join. While in the chat, tell me, where are you watching from today? Well, I see you. Olufemi here. Hey, happy to see you. Okay, almost ready. They're going to love what Kavan has for you today.
Excited to share. It's gonna be a
Yes.
lot of fun.
Okay, people from London. Yes. Australia, Copenhagen, Colombia. A lot of people here. Okay, I think we can start. Welcome to Inspiring Sessions. My name is Angela, Creative Partner Lead at Magnific, and I will be your host today. Today is special. We are going behind the scenes of the Chronicles of Bone, the first Magnific original. If you don't know what that means, Magnific originals are creative projects made by top artists using our tools and co-produced with Magnific. The creator of this first one is here with us. Let me introduce Kavan the Kid, artist, filmmaker, and the mind behind this big project. So, Kavan, welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me. Really excited, doing well. Excited to kick off the first official season one episode right after we wrap up this behind the scenes. So it's a big day, behind the scenes and episode one.
Yes, big news here. So great to have you with us. So, before we dive in, for those who don't know, what is the Chronicle of Bone? Tell us about the series.
Yeah, so the Chronicles of Bone is a dark fantasy series taking a bunch of public domain characters that we've all come to know and love, and essentially stripping them down to their basics and rewriting them and sticking them into a singular universe, in a universe that has been ruled for over 500 years by vampires and a very different type of vampires. These vampires, can go out in the sun. They don't need to drink blood. They're very different. They're increased strength, immortal, and the biggest play of a vampire in this world is when they bite you, you fall under their control, and you essentially join the vampire horde forever. But yeah, that is the base essentials of the Chronicles of Bone.
Wow. And I can't wait to see how you made it. Also, by the way, at the end of the session, we will share the link to episode one from season one so you can watch it before anyone else. All right. Get ready. Kavan, the floor is yours. You can share all that you have.
Awesome. All right. So here we are in my Magnific page here. And what I'm going to start with is for any of you guys, like when you're creating, one of the biggest issues that I used to have was consistency in character voices. And then when I didn't get the consistency, I would have to go over in into like 11 labs or something like that, and what would end up happening is I would lose all of the like rich emotion that I just got. So what I do in this case is with Seedance 2.0, it actually allows you to do consistent voices. And how I do that here is like I use a video of the character's voice, but it's a black screen. So when you have your audio, it's just essentially the character's audio and a solid black screen. Um, and then what I do here, like in my prompt, is it'll say, so also when editing, I don't really like to have like background music. So I always start my prompt every single time exactly the same. I'll say no music, natural sound only. So that way, like I don't get any of that like soundtracky music in the background. And then what I'll go with is extreme low angle close up shot of Orla. That's our character here, who has solid white eyes and no irises. Why I say that is because she has solid white eyes, and even in her character reference, she has those. But a lot of times, Seedance will give her eyeballs, which is very frustrating, especially when you get a good take. So, like, if you explain, to give it a little character detail like that, then it actually maintains that she'll have solid white eyes and match the character reference sheet. And then, and then Varric, tag him as he smirks and speaks. You're the last remaining Slade, so do right by your family's name. And then this is where the voice element comes in. I say use the voice from reference video 1, and then I tag the video for Varric. And then I use the reference image 1, them standing here. This is like a little character reference sheet for their blocking positions and eye line. This just helps Seedance maintain that, like as you'll see here, that they actually stay in the correct spots. Because sometimes without a reference image, what Seedance likes to do is like switch them or stick them in different parts of the room. So like having that reference image always is good to like help guide it. And I've done it before without a reference image where I just do reference location. But in this particular scene, when I was making it, it was really important that like the characters are in those same spots. So anyways, I do that. Then I kind of explain his blocking afterwards. Varric turns to face the door and places his black gloved hand on her shoulder. And then he walks away towards the door as the camera slowly pushes in on Orla's shocked face as she is looking down. And then I cap it off with, this is a scene from, and then I'll change whatever the camera is here. So like I always use this prompt at the end, but if it's a handheld camera, I put handheld. If it's a drone, it's a drone. If it's, a dolly, it's a dolly. So that word is interchangeable. Masterful style fantasy film. If for any reason I wasn't making Chronicles and I was making a different thing, I would just change this from fantasy to action to horror, like whatever your film is. The lighting and cinematography are masterful and expertly accomplished, but slow and deliberate. So I'm going to fire a couple of these off while I show some examples. Okay, so as we see here, I'm going to show you some of these examples. Now, not all of these are perfect. Like when I gen, it depends, but I can get a shot as soon as like 5 seconds. I mean, 5 gens, and then there's sometimes where shots have taken me upwards of 50 gens. It just depends on the complexity of the shot and what happens. So like, it's definitely still a varying degree of tweaking prompts. And then I definitely feel like there's days where Seedance is like locked in, and then there's days where it's not. And it's just like, it's you're kind of riding the wave of Seedance. But anyways.
If you serve well, prove your loyalty to the Empire, we can discuss restoring you to a position worthy of your status.
So as you see, this shot, like everything's good except she's not supposed to be sitting down. So like in that case, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to run it again. And so this is the actual correct blocking. Like she's supposed to be standing and he's looking at her. So then same. Now notice his voice will be exactly the same.
Serve well, prove your loyalty to the Empire. We can discuss restoring you to a position worthy of your status.
So that's like where we actually get like the consistent voices. By using the reference image of their blocking and then our character references, that's how we're able to get the consistent voices. But as you can see, even with the reference image, like this is not correct. This one, correct blocking. This one, it's swapped them. So like there's still a lot of hit or miss in the sense of even with the prompt. And then here's like another one.
You are the last remaining Slade.
But there's again like what I meant by the keeping the consistent voices and why I use a video instead of audio. I found that video is more consistent, but like then audio, it seems like when you use an audio file, it definitely still fluctuates. But with a video file, it's definitely a lot more locked in. But the reason why you want to do a black screen is because you'll get the character's mouth. Like, for instance, I used a video from like an older AI video model for the voice, like where the character's talking. Sometimes I create voices in 11 Labs, but sometimes I don't. I find that like that the emotion isn't always there. So like I find that like there's definitely better emotion, in just pulling it straight out of the model, or if you can use an actor. An actor is always great. But the reason why you don't want to use like a video with the mouth is it will literally add the mouth into your generation. So like it'll look like really funky and not like matched. So
do right by your family's name.
But see, like this did really well. This, like, in the sense of following the thing where in the prompt it literally says, you know, Varric turns to face the door, places his hand on her shoulder, and then leaves towards the door as the camera slowly pushes in on Orla's shocked
The last
face.
remaining Slade. So do right by your family's name.
If you want to do more than one character voice, you just do the same thing. So add another video of the same voice. So like here, let's try that right now. I'm just gonna delete some of this real quick. Okay, let me get Orla's voice here. There we go, Orla. Okay. And the other thing too is when you use video, it can't be longer than 15 seconds. So if you're talking about like multiple characters talking, make sure each video is like, in total, all of the videos you add can't exceed 15 seconds or the gen won't go through. So like, you know, and it doesn't need a lot. Like, so really like each one of my videos is about 4 to 5 seconds. And then when it comes to like sound effects or like their voices adjusting to the scene, Seedance is pretty good at doing that already from your reference audio of like taking the audio and then placing it in whatever the environment is. So I'm just going to do, you know, no music, natural sound only. Close-up shot of Varric standing next to Orla.
Okay, we see the prompts are very, very long.
Oh yes, they're they're. I mean these are like some of my shorter ones. When we do the action sequences, those prompts get extensively long. Okay, so then Orla looks up at him and she speaks, and she speaks. What did I say? Orla, what are you doing? I am here in a live session. Okay, and then use the voice from the reference video 2 for Orla. All right, so we'll get that going. And while those are genning, okay, so we've got these ones that I fired off a bit earlier.
You are the last remaining Slade. So do right by your family's name.
See, like for me, that's really good. I still probably wouldn't have used it for like what I was doing because he gave her more of like a good job, you know, like on the back, and like I wanted like the really subtle one, the one that I showed earlier. So that's, you know, that's kind of like the first step. So like while I'm waiting for these, like I'm going to show you guys another part here. So when they first walk into the room, we see the Shadow Knight's helmet. And so, like, if you remember from the last episode, the Shadow Knight was the knight that King Arthur fought before he ended up defeating Vorin. So we show this, and as you can see, this one had an irregularity. Like, we get Varric's walking in, then we get Orla, and then we get Varric again. That happens sometimes. So then it's just Janet again. Same thing on that one. Let's see. Sometimes it's like I said, it's a bit of a game. There's a little bit of a glitch on that one. Let's see this one. Yeah, there we go.
Oh my God. Is that?
So that's actually not the Shadow Knight, just so you know. That's just a random guy in the bed. We don't ever actually show his face. But I needed to have like a body in the bed so they, for their eye line purposes, so they could actually look at like a character in the bed, or if there wasn't someone in the bed, sometimes their eye line isn't correct. But with that, like, as you notice, like, I have the Shadow Knight's helmet. So I'm actually, while we wait for these gens to go through at the top here, I'm going to show you. So these are my character reference sheets whenever I make, you know, an inputting character. So this is Varric. Like, whenever I'm doing like more close-up stuff, like those ones I was showing with him and Orla talking, I normally will focus more on something like this, just because you're going to get a lot more rich details than you will from the like zoomed out versions like this. Like, Seedance is going to then interpret kind of like what the face is like, what the details are like. The images were made in Magnific using Nano Banana 2. And then, like, you know, you essentially prompt for like getting all these different angles, which I can show in a bit. But essentially, you know, like I always do whenever I make character references, I always do a wide and then I do a close up. So there's that. So then there's Orla, where, like, you know, she has the solid white eyes. Then we have the last Lost Boy, and so we show him. And then I did because he goes through a bunch of variations in this one. So there's this variation, which is like standard last Lost Boy. Then there's last Lost Boy without his jacket, and then there's last Lost Boy after he suffers an injury. But then, like, in regards to the Shadow Knight, we have the Shadow Knight here, and as we saw in the last episode, he was, you know, severely injured, so that's why he's in the bed at the moment. But then, like, in order to put his helmet on the table, I made separate assets of just the helmet by itself. And then lastly, we have the fairy in this episode, and so these are like the different character things. And then something that was tough in regards to her character was getting the size. I actually don't want her to be this small, but if I didn't put her on some form of a size reference, Seedance was using the like making her like a full-bodied person. Like, she was like just as tall and big as the other characters. So like when I used this character reference of her standing on top of a quarter, it understood size a little bit more. And then, like, along with the reference, I would essentially say that she was like the size of an action figure, or like, you know, like a small action figure toy. And so, but I always upload whenever I'm creating, I always upload these character reference sheets for the characters of all angles. So that way, if you're like moving the camera around or doing anything like that, like, Seedance is going to be able to interpret all the different angles of the characters. And so these shots are almost done. So let me hop back here. And then we can see like the example of using two character voices in the same scene. Now, even before these are done, what can happen, it's not as often, but what can happen is sometimes it swaps their voices. It's not very often, but it's still happened to me a couple of times where it's really funny. So like, Varric will have Orla's voice and Orla will have Varric's voice. But normally when you're here in your prompts and you're saying, use the voice from the reference video to like Orla's voice for Orla, like it has a really good understanding, like when you name your characters, like close-up shot of Varric and then tagging, like it understands that, okay, that whenever I see the word Varric, this is the image that it's talking about. So just hang here momentarily.
By the way, Kavan, people in the chat wants to know, what are those black videos that you
Those
have?
are the video. Those are the voices.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So the black videos are the voices of the characters. The reason I use video instead of audio is Seedance somehow, for whatever reason, seems to interpret video better than audio. Like if you upload an audio ref, it's not always consistent. Whereas when you upload the video ref, it's the same voice every single time. But the reason I do the black squares instead of maybe showing the character talking is Seedance does this thing where it tries to use the lips from the reference video. So then they look like kind of weird and wonky. So it's best to just put in a blank black video with the audio. All right, so I can already tell by this one, it didn't listen to the location, but let's see in regards to character voices. So outside of the gibberish that happened in the very beginning, as you can see, that's like his voice and Orla's voice. Oh, let me make sure that the audio is on. Okay. Can we hear now?
I am here. The quest.
Orla, what are you doing?
I am here in a live session.
So as you can see,
I am here.
we
Quest.
are the
Orla,
voices
what are
going
you
through
doing?
now? Can people hear those?
I am here in a live session.
Okay, just want to make sure. But as you can see, like it used his voice again, same voice that we've been hearing for Varric, and then her voice as well. And so then here it looks like we at least got the right room. The blocking isn't correct; they're in the wrong spots. But
Orla, what are you doing? You up to something new?
I am here in a live session.
so as you can see, you get the correct voices. We're still getting some gibberish, but like and that's where creative cutting comes through when you're editing and just overall, like I wouldn't use this one either because they're not in the right spots. They need to be on the other sides. And so through the process, it's definitely a process of constantly tweaking prompt, constantly providing different references, and fine tuning it. And then there's just times where like Seedance, like I don't know why, but sometimes there's days where Seedance is like locked in and it does like everything to the T. And then there's sometimes where like it does funny things. So it's just part of the process of the game. But yeah, I normally always gen in like 15 seconds. But what I'll do is like sometimes if I have like multiple lines of dialogue, like let's say these two characters are talking, but I'm gonna have Orla say like 3 different lines, but like Varric's gonna speak in between those lines. What I'll do is I'll prompt like for an over-the-shoulder shot of Varric looking at Orla, and in my prompt, I'll literally say, like I'll use Varric for in this case for the example, like, so Orla, what are you doing? And then I'll put in brackets, long pause. We should get out of here. And then period, again, brackets, long pause. And then if you don't want the pause to be as long, short pause. But essentially when I do that, like I can do a 15-second gen and then get same camera setup, same shot, but now get 3 different lines of dialogue. And then, then we cut to the reverse over the shoulder of Varric looking at Orla. and then can do the same thing. So then that's how you can kind of create like your back and forth talking scene and then use less gens. Or you can do, like if you want the sweeping camera motion between the two, then you could do, something like this. But yeah, that is the primary focus of like when getting consistent audio is making sure to, have your character's audio. If you're going to be doing multiple characters speaking, be sure to use like 5 seconds or less, because you can't upload more than 15 seconds of reference audio. So like, just keep that in mind. So if you have like a scene and 4 characters are all talking in that scene, you're going to need to do about, like 3 seconds per character. So that's the main step there. And now let's scroll. Bear with me while I scroll a ways back. Or actually here, we can for action, we can show these. This has some really fun sequences.
By the way, Kavan, I know you have the real mask for the last lost boy. Can you show us?
Yes. So the last Lost Boy is actually all like made from like a real photo that existed, like that is essentially me wearing a costume, but this is the actual mask. It's a hand carved wood mask that, I put on the character and then manipulated it. Same with the jacket. I own the jacket, and yeah, it's a very funny before and after photo. I actually think I have it somewhere. I can show. Just everybody has to promise not to laugh, because it's quite comical of what I look like in the costume versus what the actual last Lost Boy looks like. So here, let me switch over real quick.
So you take photos with the mask, and then use them as reference to create the AI images, right?
Yeah. So this is, as you can see, like the actual jacket, and then me wearing the mask. And then like I stuck that terrible photo of me with my stains on my shirt and everything into Nano, and then, like manipulated and added things. So like made the character's hair long, added the rosary, added the revolver, damaged up the jacket, damaged up the mask. But it did start from like an actual real like reference photo. And I've done that for a lot of the characters, like Captain Hook, and the Collector. Those are probably the two main characters that I did that with. And then just because like a lot of that comes from back when I used to do like photography, way back in the day, pre-AI, like 2019, 2018. And I did a lot of like kind of like fine art, dark fantasy photography. So I took a lot of inspiration from there. But now I'm going to show some action sequences, because who doesn't love a good action sequence. So this is in the scene from the episode you'll see of the fall of Neverland. And so in this scene, we're following the last Lost Boy and this pirate, and I'm going to show that like even when you've got your prompt, it doesn't necessarily always hit, but just kind of like I kept the same prompt and just kind of rolled it a few times, then eventually got it. So the prompt was like, so I have my reference. Oh, sorry, I don't. Let me see if I can actually. Well, we're going to be jumping between a few here, because I'm going to pull up so you can see the reference image of. So 1 second here. Apologize. Okay. Put that there. And then we'll switch right back to this. So I use this reference image. That's my reference image for Neverland. It's like, it's on fire, it's burning. We've got these like trees. I mean, these like these homes and houses and villages essentially built into the trees. We can see some pirate ships down here in the river below. And so I use that reference image plus my character reference images. Let's hop back here. So my character reference images, we have this kid here who, you know, spoiler alert, even though you haven't seen the episode yet, is the last Lost Boy, and then a pirate. And so what I essentially say, and the last Lost Boy's name is not Bob. I just called him Bob because it made it easy for purposes of tagging, and typing the last Lost Boy is a lot sometimes. So like shorting it down, I just say Bob. So no music, natural sound only, close-up tracking shot as Bob, tag the character, is running up a bridge of a burning village towards one of the village homes built into the trees. Pirate 1 swings his sword at him. Bob ducks it and slashes the pirate, causing the pirate to fall off the bridge to the ground below. Cut to a close-up shot of Bob as he looks down at the battle between pirates and boys happening on the pirate ships below, burning embers flying, chaos and destruction, and then same ending prompt. So with that, I'm going to show you like some of these are this is a fail. This one wasn't like one that did not work. Oh no, here, sorry, let me make sure that I think I need to make sure that this is sharing with audio. So there we go. Okay. So here's another one. Like does some weird thing there. And then the guy, great water splash though, right there, you know, like love that. Didn't love the beginning part, and we have, you know, some more stuff happening there. And so a lot of times when I do this, you know, like even if I see like a little bit of a section where I'm like, oh, this looks good, even though the beginning sucked and the back sucked, that little section, I still download it, and then like in my like folders, like no different than like if you were on an actual film set, like I'll get, you know, 10, 20, 25 takes, and then bring those into my timeline, my editing. And then I just go through and edit and see which ones look good, which ones, you know, look better than others.
Also, Kavan, people are asking if you can speak more about location. They say keeping background consistent, and when you see a different wall or multiple walls in the background, how do you adjust for that?
Like multiple walls in like different areas.
Yes, I think it is.
Yeah, so like whenever I make locations, I do the same thing as character refs. They're just not all in the same like image like a character ref, but like I will make like different angles of each. Like so you essentially go into Nano and you've got like your image looking this way. Then like I describe like what's on this, like I tell Nano like turn the camera and then describe what's on that side, and then essentially you get that other angle and that other angle. And then there's other tricks too, like where you gen the shot in Seedance with no characters and have it like move around in 1080, like, you know, so you can see all the things. Upscale it to 4K, then take that 4K upscale and take it into QuickTime, screenshot it into preview. Then you take that screenshot, you stick it back into Magnific Nano Banana, and then you tell it to increase the details and make it HD, and then you re-download it. And then that's like, because you can essentially like do like what they do like on real estate videos, where you have your empty location. You're like, all right, put the camera in and like do a little flyby and show me like all the angles in Seedance, and then Seedance can just go in there and create the whole room for you. Then you just have to upscale to 4K, screenshot all the different angles, and then you know take those, and then you take those back into Nano, upscale them again, like an additional upscale into 4K, and you're asking Nano to add all these rich details and stuff like that, and then you're good to go.
Nice.
Okay, so here is like, this is when we started getting a little closer. Like we're actually getting the running on the bridge. We're getting the duck. I mean, this still isn't correct, but we're getting closer. And I like that fall. It was a good fall. But then let's see. I'll show you the one that ended up making the cut. Wasn't that one? I believe it's this one. Nope. Is it? Nope. Here we go. So we get like a nice slide, does the sword under his feet, so it makes him lose his balance, and then he falls. And then I actually ended up using a different cut, but then like, you know, you have here where he looks back at all these different pirate boats and stuff. But I love the motion of this one, and like the like he doesn't actually slice the guy, but I love the idea that he like puts his blade under his feet, like causing him to lose his balance. So, but if you notice, like even on that one, like so I adjusted the prompt just a little bit, and so. So I saw someone said I should use the heart when I use them. So I don't use the heart only because like the second I see one I like, I download it. So like I'm just downloading like tons, and then I'm sticking those into my folder like on my computer. And so this says you know, no music, natural sound only, close-up tracking shot as Bob is running up the bridge of the burning village towards one of the village homes. You know, same thing. But the only thing I changed was the pirate charges at him and swings his sword, and then I added in the slow motion. So slow motion as Bob slides and ducks it and slashes the pirate's legs. Even though I said slashes the legs, like I ended up really liking the result of the like he doesn't actually slice the legs, but he slices under the feet, because I thought it was just, you know, like a unique and kind of different approach. It was a lot of fun. And then we do get a little Captain Hook action in this one. So, you know, always fun to get, you know, Captain Hook again. Then bear with me for a minute while I scroll a bit more down. This will take just like 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, here we go. So this is probably my favorite scene in the whole episode. This is when the fairy is fighting some knights, and it's without a doubt one of my favorite scenes. So I'm going to show you, as you can see, like this one here. Like, so I ended up doing, trying to find the one that's like the one that actually makes the cut. But as you can see, like here, for instance, she's way too big. Like doesn't use the right reference. And so like that's like one of the things, even though like I'm prompting for like for her to be small. I actually don't know if I did. Oh yeah, here it is. She is too small and fast and dodges it. But in some of the other prompts, I was like specifically saying, you know, that that she was like essentially the size of an action figure. That was where I was finding like the best results. But let me see. Okay, here we go. I think this is a different one. This was probably my favorite scene. Also, just as a heads up, this is a bit violent, this scene. So just forewarning, if you don't like violence, don't watch this part. But this part is a bit violent. So in this shot, I have it to where the fairy flew inside the dude, and then she breaks out, and so.
Everyone is my enemy.
And so that was, you know, one of my favorite shots. Probably my favorite shot of the whole episode is this one where, like, including the line where she like turns around and speaks. And so, like, with that, like, I literally made another. Let me show you here. So I made another reference. So when that scene happens, like we have like her covered in blood. So and like when I do that, like I essentially, you know, because there's another scene, but I'll save that one. So when you guys actually watch the episode, you can see like how she gets covered in blood the first time, because that's not how she gets covered in blood. She's already covered in blood at that point. But essentially, she flies in, and then when she comes out, she's covered in blood, and then later, like just kind of showing like a progression of a character here. Then I did like after like she's cleaned up a little bit. So like, obviously her dress is still like covered in blood. Her hair is now not braided anymore. And then like did the same thing, like wanted to get some close-ups, because on that wide, I noticed that I did lose a little bit of the details. Like, so she has these like markings on her face. And so like, I wanted to make sure that those were kept. So like whenever I do the close-up shots, especially like when she's talking and stuff, like I have the markings still on her face, like how they were when she's here we go, like from there, like the same markings that she has on her face. Because if you notice, like it's kind of a trend that I've put together with specifically with her and the last Lost Boy. Like she has very similar, like there, similar to like the battle scars on his mask. So it's kind of like a through theme to show like how these characters and what they've gone through in their time in Neverland. One of the biggest questions I always get is like how to do gore, and blood and things like that in action. And as you can see, like when it's this one here, I don't actually describe the blood. Like I don't say that word, so I just say bursts out of his eyeball. And so like Seedance is going to interpret like, okay, like if I say like rips his arm off or gets stabbed with a sword or shot with a gun, I don't have to say like and blood sprays out or any of that stuff. It'll just know like that's like what should happen. Like if someone gets shot, blood obviously comes out. If they get stabbed, blood comes out. Like, so it already interprets that. When you start adding those other words, it will kind of flag it. It can flag it. But for the most part, like I've never run into an issue. And as you guys see when you watch this episode here in just a bit, the tink, I mean the fairy scene is incredibly violent. So it's a lot of fun. It's a fun scene. And then here are some other things to kind of like to wrap it up. But like essentially, there's a lot of focus on this episode is obviously around the Mordanes and responding to the fact that Arthur defeated Vorin in the last prologue, and it officially made it to where the Mordanes no longer own all of the realms of man for the first time in 500 years. So this episode has a lot of like repercussions of that and how the Mordanes begin their plan to respond. So this is kind of same thing, but I'll show you like one here with multi-character references and locations. Oh, these were me making the images. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was saying that I'm sorry, but we are coming to the end. Sorry, to the end of today's session. We have a lot to learn from you, Kavan, but we are running on time.
No worries.
This was so much fun. For those of you who are asking, the session will be recorded and published on our YouTube channel, so check it out after the session. And as we promised, we are sharing the link to the new episode right now in the chat, and you can also have it go through it with scanning the QR. So
let me
you
know
get to
what you
watch
think in the new episode too. Please leave a
Yes.
comment on the YouTube video. You're seeing it 45 minutes before it actually goes public.
Yes, on YouTube first, but yeah. So go to check it out after the session. And thank you so much, Kavan, for being here. This was really
course.
great. And to everyone watching, thank you for joining us today. If you want to see more of Kavan's work and follow the Chronicles of Bone, we will drop the link in the description. Yeah, this has been Magnific Inspiring Session, or first with Magnific. So see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.